If you're obsessing about outcomes while doing the work, I need you to hear this. Your attachment to results is destroying your performance. When you're focused on what you'll get, you can't be present with what you're doing, and presence is where excellence lives. In the next few minutes, I'm going to show you why detaching from results is the secret to actually achieving them, and the 3 practices that will help you focus on the process instead of the prize. I used to tie my worth to my outcomes. Every project, every goal, every result. I'd work on something, but the whole time I was mentally calculating, will this be good enough? Will people like it? Will it succeed? Will it prove I'm worthy? And that attachment made everything harder. I was tense, anxious, never satisfied. Because I wasn't doing the work for the work, I was doing it for the validation, and I was miserable. Then I learned the paradox that changed everything. The less you attach to the outcome, the better the outcome becomes. Because when you detach, you free up all the energy you were spending on worry and anxiety. You show up fully to the task itself. You enter flow. You do your best work. Not because you're trying to achieve something, but because you're present with the process. And ironically, that presence is what creates the results you were desperately chasing. Here's what we're covering. First, why attachment to results kills your performance and your peace. Second, the 3 signs that you're too attached to outcomes. And third, the 3 practices that will help you detach from results so you can finally focus on the task and do your best work. Let's start with the uncomfortable truth. Attachment to results is a form of control. It's your attempt to guarantee that the work you do will give you what you need. Safety, validation, proof of worth, money, success, love. Whatever it is, you're making the outcome mean something about you. And that's why you can't let it go. Because if you don't get the result, you're afraid it means something bad about who you are. Here's what happens when you're attached to outcomes. You're not really present with your work. Part of your mind is always in the future, worrying about whether this will work out, calculating the odds, preparing for disappointment, protecting yourself from failure. And that split attention means you're not giving your full presence to what you're actually doing. You're half here, half somewhere else. And that divided state makes everything harder. Think about the last time you did something with no attachment to the outcome. Maybe it was playing with a kid, making art just for fun, having a conversation with no agenda, cooking a meal for yourself. In those moments, you were fully present. You weren't worried about whether you were doing it right. You were just doing it. And it felt effortless. Time disappeared. You were in flow. That's what happens when you're focused on the task instead of the result. But when the stakes feel high, when you need a certain outcome, you lose that presence. Your nervous system goes into hypervigilance. Every action becomes loaded with what if? What if this doesn't work? What if I fail? What if I waste my time? What if people judge me? And those thoughts create tension, anxiety, performance pressure. You're no longer creating from a place of flow. You're forcing from a place of fear. And here's the paradox. The more you need the result, the worse you perform. Because you're too tense to access your natural abilities. You're overthinking instead of trusting your intuition. You're micromanaging instead of letting things unfold. You're so focused on not failing that you can't be present with succeeding. And you end up sabotaging the very outcome you're desperate to achieve. Detachment is not apathy. It's not caring. It's caring deeply about your effort and releasing your grip on the outcome. It's doing everything you can and then surrendering the result. It's trusting that if you show up fully to the process, the outcome will take care of itself. And if it doesn't work out the way you wanted, that's information, not a verdict on your worth. Now, how do you know if you're too attached to outcomes? Here are the 3 signs that results have hijacked your peace and your performance. Sign number 1. You can't enjoy the process because you're too focused on the end. You're doing the work, but you're not present with it. You're mentally fast forwarding to the result. Will this be good enough? Will people like it? Will it succeed? The entire time you're working, you're judging whether it's working, and you miss the experience of the work itself, the joy of creating, the satisfaction of effort, the flow of being immersed in something. You're so focused on the destination that you can't be here for the journey. This is the curse of outcome orientation. You turn everything into a means to an end. Nothing has value in itself. It's only valuable if it gets you somewhere. And that robs you of presence, of peace, of the actual experience of your because your life is happening in the process, not in the results. Sign number 2. A bad outcome makes you spiral into self-doubt. When something doesn't work out the way you wanted, you don't just see it as feedback, you see it as evidence that you're not good enough, that you're a failure, that you should give up. One rejection becomes proof you're not worthy. One setback becomes confirmation that you're not capable. You've attached so much of your identity to the outcome that when the outcome disappoints, you collapse. This is the danger of making results mean something about you, because results are influenced by 1,000 factors you can't control: timing, market conditions, other people's preferences, luck, circumstances. If you tie your worth to outcomes, you're giving your power to things outside your control, and you'll be on an emotional roller coaster, feeling good when things work, feeling terrible when they don't, never stable, never at peace. Sign number 3, you procrastinate or perfectionism kicks in. This one's sneaky. When you're too attached to the outcome, you either avoid starting or you never finish. Procrastination happens because you're afraid the result won't be good enough, so you delay to protect yourself from that disappointment. Perfectionism happens because you're trying to control the outcome by making everything flawless, but you never reach that impossible standard, so you keep tweaking forever. Both are forms of attachment to results. Both are your nervous system trying to protect you from the pain of failure, but both prevent you from actually doing the work, from putting things out there, from learning and improving. You stay stuck because you're more focused on avoiding bad outcomes than on embracing the process. Now here's how you actually practice detachment so you can focus on the task and do your best work. These aren't mindset tricks, they're spiritual practices that shift how you relate to effort and outcomes. Practice number 1, define success as full presence, not perfect results. This is the game changer. Stop measuring success by what happens. Start measuring it by how you showed up. Did you give your full attention to the task? Did you do your best with what you had in that moment? Did you stay present instead of worrying about the outcome? That's success. Everything else is out of your hands. Here's what this looks like. Before you start working on something, set an intention. Not "I will make this perfect" or "this has to work out," but "I will be fully present with this task. I will do my best without attachment to the result. I will trust the process and release the outcome." And then, when you're done, you evaluate yourself on that intention. Did you stay present? Did you do your best? If yes, you succeeded, regardless of what happens next. This shifts your locus of control from external to internal. You're no longer at the mercy of results you can't control. You're focused on the one thing you can control: your presence and effort. And when you do that consistently, the results tend to follow. Because presence creates quality, and quality creates results. But you don't aim for the results, you aim for the presence. The results are the byproduct, not the goal. Practice number 2, separate your identity from your outcomes. You are not your achievements, you are not your failures, you are not what you produce. You are a human being having an experience, creating things, trying things, learning from things, and none of it defines your worth. Your worth is inherent. It exists regardless of what you accomplish. Here's how you practice this. When something goes well, notice your tendency to inflate, to think, "I'm amazing, I'm special, I'm worthy now," and gently remind yourself, this success doesn't make me more valuable. When something goes poorly, notice your tendency to deflate, to think, "I'm terrible, I'm not good enough, I'm worthless," and gently remind yourself, this failure doesn't make me less valuable. You're practicing equanimity, not getting too high when things go well, not getting too low when things go poorly, staying centered in the knowledge that you are valuable simply because you exist, not because of what you achieve. This doesn't mean you don't care about excellence. It means you care about excellence for its own sake, not as a way to prove your worth. When you separate your identity from outcomes, you free yourself to take risks, to try things without the paralyzing fear of failure. Because failure doesn't mean anything about you. It's just information, it's feedback, it's part of the learning process. And that freedom is what allows you to do your best work. Practice number 3, dedicate the work to something beyond yourself. This is the secret of detachment. When you're working for your own ego, for your own validation, for your own gain, you're attached because you need it to work out for you. But when you dedicate your work to something beyond yourself, to service, to contribution, to beauty, to truth, to helping others, you're no longer attached to personal outcomes. Here's what this looks like. Before you start a project, ask yourself, who is this for? What am I serving? It could be serving the people who will benefit from this work. It could be serving the craft itself. It could be serving your own growth and learning. It could be serving a higher purpose or spiritual principle. Whatever it is, connect to something larger than your ego's need to succeed. And then as you work, remind yourself, I'm not doing this to prove myself. I'm doing this to serve. I'm offering my best and releasing the outcome. Whether people love it or hate it, whether it succeeds or fails, I showed up and gave what I had. That's enough. And when you approach work from that place, you're free. Free from the anxiety of needing it to work out. Free to be fully present with the process. Free to do your absolute best work. Here's what I want you to understand. Detachment from results is not giving up on results. It's freeing yourself to create better results by focusing on what you can control. Your presence, your effort, your commitment to the process. Everything else, the outcome, the recognition, the success, is a bonus, not the point. And when you stop making outcomes the point, they start to happen more naturally, because you're no longer blocking them with anxiety and attachment. We covered why attachment to results kills performance. It splits your attention and creates tension. We identified the 3 signs of overattachment: can't enjoy the process, spiral with bad outcomes, procrastinate, or perfect. And we walked through 3 practices of detachment: define success as presence, separate identity from outcomes, and dedicate work to something beyond yourself. This is how you do your best work, not by caring less, but by caring differently. Caring about the process, caring about your presence, caring about what you're serving, and releasing your need to control what happens next. That's freedom. That's flow. That's where excellence lives. So here's your practice for today. Pick something you're working on. Before you start, set an intention to be fully present. Remind yourself that your worth doesn't depend on the outcome. Dedicate the work to something beyond your ego, and then just do the work with full attention, without attachment. See how differently it feels. See how much more you enjoy it. See how much better you perform. Let me know in the comments, what are you attached to that's blocking your flow? What outcome do you need to release? I want to hear from you. You are not what you achieve. You are the one who shows up, the one who tries, the one who gives your best, and that's always been enough. Welcome to the process. This is where mastery lives.